Can I has more interwebs? Not if the government has anything to say about it. I'm here in the beautiful city of Austin, Texas for the South by Southwest Festival, a time where thousands upon thousands of hipsters have descended upon the city. I've never seen so many fedoras and creepy mustaches. Ironic creepy mustaches. More importantly, tech nerds have descended upon the city to discuss the idea of net neutrality. Now, who could be against net neutrality? It sounds wonderful. It even has the words neutrality in the name. That's why nearly everyone I asked supported it. I'm outside of the Austin Convention Center where everything's going down. We got the hipsters out here. We'll see what they know about net neutrality. Got my scruff and my shirt. Do I look like Kurt Cobain, Jared?
No, not at all.
And then I found out that they didn't actually know what it was. So seeing that you work online, it's a big point of discussion here at South by Southwest. What do you think of net neutrality?
Haven't heard of net neutrality.
I haven't either.
What do I think of it? Well, it's a complicated topic, obviously. I think it's easy to distill complicated subjects like that down to jingoistic phrases.
In terms of access to the pipes and everything.
What do you think about net neutrality, Mr. Sack? Christopher Robin, I'll start with you.
Yes, net neutrality. You mean like censorship?
I'll get him to talk. I got some Sodium Pentathol and the keys to Gitmo.
Net neutrality. Well, I don't have an official Duke stance, but from my point of view, I support it.
See, net neutrality is about giving the government the right to control and regulate the internet. Most importantly, regulating the speed at which all data crosses networks. Ultimately, it's designed to ensure the equality of load time for all websites. See, the leftist fear with the interwebs is that giant evil corporations will take it over and control it. Just ask Al Franken.
Now, let me say something about big corporations. Rich and powerful corporations. It's the big corporations, but corporations that are coming after the internet, hoping to destroy the very thing that makes it such an important tool for independent artists and entrepreneurs. It's freedom and openness.
See, the concern is that some internet service providers might favor some sites over others, giving them priority. That would mean that some high-volume sites might be able to pay more for extra bandwidth. Oh, the humanity! There's only one problem. It's never happened.
So the one, it seems to me the key points he seemed to hammer home there was really sort of the threat of corporations essentially allocating bandwidth and information, favoring perhaps some sites or some corporations. That seemed to be the main concern. Would you say that was kind of what he was talking about in the speech?
Yeah, absolutely. The main concern is that we lose the freedom to be able to create jobs and to create money without having a very disproportionate playing field.
Right.
Yeah.
Could you cite a single case where that's happened yet?
Where that's happened yet?
See, she didn't have an answer for that, but let me explain it to you through an example. Let's use cell phones. Take here outside of the South by Southwest Convention Center, where all the spouseless geeks convene. See, all of them are Facebooking, tweeting, and using the South by Southwest app to their little lonely heart's content. Now, because of that, service around this area is overburdened, excruciatingly slow, and almost unusable. Now, most of these people are using one of two things: Twitter or the South by Southwest app. Now let's say, hypothetically, that AT&T wanted to. They could give this area and those sites extra priority than, say, cutecats.geocities.com. Then the vast majority of people working here would be able to use those applications seamlessly and get on with their work. But, hypothetically, let's say they can't do that. The government steps in and says it's illegal. And so every other site runs just as slowly as cutecats.geocities.com. That's net neutrality.
Let's use another example, say the Postal Service. Let's say one person wants to mail a letter. Now person number 2 wants to mail a kettlebell. Now you can't charge person number 2 any more to ship that heavy, cumbersome kettlebell, and despite this envelope being easy to ship and relatively cheap, that envelope can't get there any more quickly than the 50-pound kettlebell. It has to arrive at the same time to ensure fairness. That's net neutrality. My back.
So as you can imagine, if everything has to flow at the same speed, the kettlebells are more likely to bog down the letters than anything else. And by that same token, somebody who does nothing but mail letters is still burdened with the cost by the man who mails nothing but kettlebells.
Look, this is the metaphor I use for net neutrality when I'm trying to explain it to other people. If you think of the internet as a communal freeway, do you really want an 18-wheeler allowed to go 100 miles per hour when you have a speed limit? That's the metaphor I use. I don't want to...
No, but what's really happening is you're saying everyone has to drive as slow as the 18-wheeler. Now you're bringing the speed limit down.
No, that's not true. On any given freeway...
That's pretty true.
No. At any given freeway, you have a speed limit. Okay?
Right.
Some people drive over, they pay the ticket, they don't care if they get pulled over. Okay? But there's not a lane for people who want to drive 100 miles per hour. There's no Autobahn, lane on United States freeways.
Wish there was.
Well, then you could drive it. But I'm not going to pay extra for your insurance. Okay? I'm not going to pay any of your hospital bills if you want to drive in that lane. And I sure as
You'll just be stuck in traffic with me.
You're in the Autobahn lane?
No, I'm saying there's no lane, so we're all stuck in traffic.
Are we stuck in traffic?
Austin!
Are we stuck in traffic any more than we are already?
We're stuck in traffic all the time. It wouldn't be as much traffic if people were allowed to, for example, a good example would be the carpool lane. Oh, they have more people, need to get it through. Let's give them priority.
Sure.
Shouldn't apply to the internet.
So of course, with more oppressive government regulation, costs tend to rise. Costs that the upstart small businessmen on the internet can't afford, but the big players can. See, maybe that's why giant corporations like Google actually support net neutrality.
We should not allow it to be policed by for-profit companies. That's the
We
rule.
support the government net neutrality, like Google. The big corporations support it. The mid-tier and lower businesses are against it because they would be buried under the costs, like the smaller banks under the New Deal, where we created super banks, too big to fail. So the too big to fail companies all support net neutrality. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think that's an interesting question. I'm not sure. I wouldn't want to... I don't think that I have that much insight into their motivations for supporting net neutrality.
Sure, it's expensive, but not as expensive as it is for the company who doesn't have billions or millions of dollars from which to draw. And so those companies close their door, competition annihilated, monopoly secured. Hey, maybe we can go back to the days where the government gets to ordain and protect monopolies like we used to do over 100 years ago. But that's more like a personal opinion or theory. I'm sure a guy like Al Franken would dismiss me as nothing more than a crazy.
And that's why your Tea Party or uncle might hear that Al Franken is fighting for net neutrality and say something like, "Leave the internet alone."
Stupid Tea Partiers. Listen, I get that net neutrality is an incredibly complex issue. That's why they'll give it a very benign, harmless name and then hit you with a bunch of technical lingo to try and confuse you into agreeing with them. And some of you very well may agree with them, and I understand that. But I also understand that the internet is an incredible tool that has possibly revolutionized the world more than any other in history, and we've barely even scratched the tip. Now, can you think of another example of free enterprise at work benefiting the people at large better than the internet? Because I certainly can't.
Only here would that go laugh. That was hilarious. And that's exactly...
I come from a country where we don't let for-profit companies run our hospitals because we
And
believe...
that's worked out great for Canada.
Yes, it has. It's worked out fabulously for Canada. And Canadians recently voted the creator of socialized medicine in Canada the greatest Canadian who ever lived. So obviously Canadians are in general in favor of our socialized medical
Well, it
system.
was publicly declared a crisis and a violation of human rights in SxSW versus Quebec in 2005 from Claude Castonguay, the man who headed up the commission that founded socialized medicine.
I'm sorry, you said that very quickly. Can you repeat?
2005, the Supreme Court case, SxSW versus Quebec, it was declared a violation of human rights because wait times were so long and so many people were dying that they opened it up to privatization. And that's why in Canada you now have super hospitals, or as in the States we know them, hospitals.